Today I will be doing a review of my new Mamod Mk live steam locomotive. For comparison, I have here an original Mamod. The biggest noticeable difference between an original Mamod and the Mark III is in here, the only control you have is when there's steam up, the reversing lever forward or reverse. I control the speed of this locomotive with the weight of the cars I pull behind it. This one, of course, is a gas burner. It has a gas tank in there and a proper, throttle. You can sure see the family resemblance with the same sort of setup with the cylinders, oscillating cylinders, steam coming into a reversing block. And here, this is the new Mamod Mk III, similar setup, although the cylinders are much better, and they in fact come with glands. And here you see the gas burner. I think it's great this locomotive has a lubricator. Usually in a good lubricator, the steam comes in the top, goes out near the top or at the top, and some of the steam will condense into water droplets, which sink down through the oil, and the oil floats on top of it. And as the oil goes up, of course, a little bit more is picked up by the steam to carry on to the cylinders. Here's where you load it up. You put the oil in there. There's a drain at the bottom. But the weird thing is the pipe comes out the bottom. Now I have found in the one time I've run this locomotive that it works. It lubricates just fine, except that because this pipe's probably got a whole bunch of oil that's pushed into it at the very beginning. I have 7 live steam locomotives, and this one spits out more saturated steam oil out the blast pipe than any other of my locomotives by far. I think the next run, I'm going to try to only load the lubricator to maybe this far, and that probably means that more often I'll have to stop the locomotive and add a little more lubricating oil. On the Mamod here, the coupling hook does not protrude past the buffers, and that's great. This coupling hook on the new Mark III protrudes farther than the buffers, so what I'm finding is that the cars I pull bump the coupler to coupler here. That's not ideal, so these should be out a little farther, I think. This is a very, very strong and robust rod. Very, very strong and robust. This I discovered because I'm so used to picking up this engine with my hand this way, I wound up bending these in. They'll bend in, and you can't have that because they need to be perfectly straight for it to operate properly. No big deal. I just have to relearn how to pick up the locomotive and catch myself. This hole is where you put down your butane into the tank. But unfortunately, this doesn't really line, as it came, the hole here, or the filler here, did not line up with the hole very well at all. So I rebent the copper pipe and pushed it all in a little bit, jigged it around, and now I can manage to make it work. Now, the biggest thing that bothered me, I laid it down on the track, and it was out of gauge. The wheels on one side were properly in the track, and on the other side, the flange sat right up on top of the other rail. And I had to with a small wooden dowel, and so I had to set it up, take it apart, and with a hammer and a wooden dowel, I tap, 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 all around until it's now perfectly in the gauge. Now, what I like about this locomotive, first of all, it's darn cute. It's just a great sort of, not fine scale, but a good representation of a 2-foot gauge sort of Welsh locomotive. I like the look of it. It's fun. It's a fun locomotive. I have some very fine scale live steam locomotives that are all business. Every now and then you need a little whimsy in your life, right? This is a great locomotive. It's solid, it's heavy, it's well built. I like the brass cap. I like all of it. I like the fact that it's got a 40-pound pressure boiler. That just delights me to no end. I didn't know it came with a Goodall valve. I was all prepared to buy one. I sourced online where I could buy one for it. Goodall valves, for those of you who don't know, allow you to reload the boiler with water through a little pipe, that a little line that goes in here, without taking the pressure off the boiler. I personally think, and if anybody from a manufacturer is watching this, that every live steam locomotive, considering the prices you pay for the darn things, should come with a Goodall valve. I really have a soft spot for Mamod. I do, and I think they're a great little company that's, introducing people to live steam. Today I'll be running some of my older original Mamod railcars that I repainted for World War I War Department. As you can see, And yeah, I also took my old cars and glued magnets up there so the doors open and close much more firmly, easily, and they don't sort of stick out or wobble. I have safety equipment nearby, and I loaded the butane outdoors. I've added 2 American Flyer O-gauge rail cars to the back. They're from the 1930s. It's not a light train. I've got all the cars loaded up with stuff. Well, that was a successful run. As you can see, it's collected a bit of oil there. Not near as much as the first time I ran it, because I only ever kept it full to about here. I did notice every now and then it starts to slow and steam starts to escape here and the other side. I've read online that the O-ring inside of here could be tightened up a little, compressed a little more. So what I'll use is I'll use some Teflon tape, thin Teflon tape. I'll twist it into a little tiny string, and I'll put that around in there behind the O-ring, and so that it will allow the O-ring to compress a little more, so less steam will escape here, and that should improve its running qualities as well. Would I recommend this locomotive? Absolutely, I would. It's not bad for the price. If you want to get your toe in the water of live steam, you don't want to spend a ton to start to see if you like it. Not to mention, like me, you know, if you have other engines and you just want a fun little thing, this is it. I think it runs great, honestly. And if you have a problem, if you get a locomotive and there's a few bugs to work out, there's all kinds of resources online and lots of people willing to help.